The Madison community comes together to support Abundant Life Christian School students. The games being held tonight, weeks after the deadly shooting.
And a local restaurant is closing its doors when the last stack of pancakes will be served at Short Stack Eatery.
Plus, concerns rise over the spread of bird flu. The latest actions by Wisconsin officials after the first human death from the disease in the U.S. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 10.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. We begin with the Madison community continuing its support for those impacted by the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School. Tonight, the school's basketball teams hosted their first home games since the incident.
And for more on tonight's games, our Maddie Heimsch is live at the Madison College Gymnasium, where she watched as the action unfolded. Maddie, what was it like there tonight?
Hey, Eric and Susan. Susan, like you said, Abundant Life Christian School hosting this game, but even though they were the home team, this game did not take place at their school. We're here at Madison College. The college is hosting the games for ALCS this week, both the boys games tonight and girls games on Thursday. Now, like we said, there was a they will be hosting a girls game on Thursday. There was also a girls game tonight, an away game, but there was a JV 1, 2 and varsity boys game here tonight. And something that we noticed is that all the coaches and all the players really stuck around through all three games. So the JV coaches were sitting on the bench during the varsity game, the players really hanging around as well. And that seemed to be the energy among community members and fans as well. A lot of people sticking around for all the games, wearing ALCS and Challenger Strong shirts and hoodies. And the players, we also noticed, had Bible verses written on their basketball shoes, and their warm-ups said "Rise to Glory." The athletic director tells me that that's a catchphrase they used last year when their team made a successful run to the state championship. So again, Madison College will be hosting ALCS's home games for the rest of the week, but according to their schedule, they should be playing actually at home following this week. So we're waiting on them to return to school and again return their sports to their school. For now, reporting outside Madison College, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
All right, Maddie, thank you. An important step for those students. We'll continue to sound like a bit of a broken record this week when we're talking about the forecast.
Alex joins us now to tell us about cold, dry conditions. Hi, Alex.
Cold, dry conditions, and cold, dry conditions. Yep, we got it there. And it is pretty cold out here on the patio. What it should be for this time of year, at least in January. At least the winds aren't terribly strong, so we don't have a wind chill that we have to deal with, at least out here in the patio tonight. Let's take a look at some of the temperatures right now. 17 in Madison, 19 in Middleton, 18 to the north up towards Waunakee, DeForest, and Windsor, and 17 to the northeast. Sun Prairie and our friends to the southwest down towards Verona. You're at 19 right now. Rest of southern Wisconsin, 5. It's already down to 5. Camp Douglas, you tend to be one of those folks where the temperatures do cool down quite a bit, and we've got a 14 in Janesville and 17 in Platteville right now. This is what we're up against for the next 10 days. Again, cold and dry. That's the main weather theme that we've got here. Temperatures, at least for the most part, near normal, other than tomorrow, a little colder, and then 14 on Tuesday. Other than that, at least we're hugging normal, and we're not going to be seeing bitterly cold temperatures. 3 things you got to get out of the forecast through the rest of our newscast. No big warm-ups on the way. It is going to be dry for the most part. But let's talk more about those snow chances on Friday and Sunday. And I also want to show you just how far south this deep cold extends into the United States in a little bit.
All right, Alex, thank you. The city of Madison is trying to figure out a way to keep 2 of its public indoor ice arenas open and stay out of debt. About 16,000 people use either Hartmeyer Ice Arena on the city's north side or the Madison Ice Arena on the west side. But after forcing to close during the pandemic, they've been on thin ice financially. It would be expensive for the city to take back ownership, and the city would lose one of the only adaptive skate programs in the area, the self-claimed biggest learn to skate program in the state.
I think I was particularly touched weighing that issue of what could we get out of them versus the service that is being provided. Could that be picked up by any other party? Not any time in the near future.
Madison Ice Inc.'s executive director says this proposal would also allow Madison Ice Arena to upgrade the rink floor at the West Side Arena and the dehumidification unit to sustain spring and summer ice time. Madison Common Council is set to take up the proposal at their next council meeting on Tuesday.
Madison Fire Station number 6 closing its doors to make way for redevelopment. The firefighters and paramedics housed on the West Badger Road facility will now relocate to a temporary site on Fish Hatchery Road. Now, the department expects to stay there until late 26 or early 27. Station 6 improvements will include better living space and also accommodations for the firefighters and EMTs during their 24-hour shifts.
Well, many Madison locals will be looking for a new favorite brunch spot. Short Stack Eatery will close this year after 10 years of business on State Street. The owners of Short Stack Eatery announced it's closing via social media on Sunday. They say they will not be renewing or extending their 2025 lease in order to pursue the next big dream in a different industry. The eatery opened in 2014. It's known for its vegan pancakes and 25-ingredient Bloody Mary.
I think it's just a really great place for Madison, and it's sad to see it go.
I would say Short Stack is definitely like the brunch spot. It's the sweet potato pancakes everyone loves.
Short Stack will serve the last stack in May, and we'll continue to give you updates on Short Stack's closing.
City of Madison receiving millions of dollars to make housing more affordable. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency awarding the city's sustainability program $20 million. This funding will help provide homes with free energy upgrades. Those improvements will decrease the overall energy demands of the region to protect residents from rising energy costs, while also reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Voters in Oregon will be asked to support a property tax levy on the April 1st ballot. The question asks whether or not voters support a permanent $1.95 million increase in the property tax levy. That funding would help fill several city positions, including 3 full-time police officers, 3 public works jobs, and additional public works seasonal staff. The village says after a high level of sustained growth, they are now understaffed and have a limited ability to keep up with the growing demands for services.
President Joe Biden recently signed a new law that will increase Social Security payments for millions of Americans. The Social Security Fairness Act increases payments by about $360 per month for about 2.5 million teachers, firefighters, policemen, and other public sector workers who also receive pension income. The law also eliminates 2 previous provisions that reduced payments for public service retirees and their spouses.
We focused on the repeal of provisions that have been an injustice to many public servants over the last 40 years.
The Social Security office says those impacted won't need to make any changes unless they have a new address or their direct deposit information has changed.
Monday, officials confirmed the first human death from bird flu in Louisiana. Some Wisconsin experts say there is some cause for concern. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services is taking steps to prevent this from becoming a wider problem here in Wisconsin by monitoring cattle and poultry farms. And the DHS is placing an emphasis on human monitoring as well.
That's one of the things we're looking at very closely is potential human-to-human transmission. When we do have cases like this, once they're tested, we go out and do what we call contact tracing. We want to know if anyone else has been sick too. If they have been sick, that they have exposure to an infected poultry farm or infected cattle farm.
Health officials say the best protection is to avoid sources of exposure. Don't touch sick or dead animals or their droppings. Avoid unpasteurized raw milk or cheese. And if you work on a dairy or poultry farm, consider getting a seasonal flu vaccine to reduce the risk of co-infection with more common flu viruses.
For the first time, the Food and Drug Administration has established lead limits for processed baby foods. Under the new guidelines, baby food manufacturers should have no more than 10 parts per billion of lead in baby yogurt, puddings, and processed fruits and vegetables. Root vegetables, which typically contain the highest levels of lead from the soil, should have no more than 20 parts per billion of lead. The guidance does not cover infant formula or snack foods, and child advocates say the new guidelines are largely ineffective because the agency's action is not enforceable. Some Americans with medical debt could soon get a boost on their credit scores. Leading up to his final days in office, President Biden is finalizing a rule that would end the addition of medical debt on credit reports. If Congress doesn't rescind the rule, about 15 million people will have an estimated $49 billion removed from their scores. The rule will take effect 60 days after it's published in the Federal Register.
A Madison native is celebrating 35 years of entertaining people all around the world. Mark Hayward's Friends and Fans comedy yo-yo show is heading back to his hometown of Madison. Mark has performed around the world, from Shanghai, Sweden, Melbourne to Middleton. The 90-minute show will display all of Mark's skills that have been learned over his long career, from yo-yo tricks to juggling and unusual props like a blowgun.
One of the things that people often wonder about is, as a yo-yo guy, am I just performing for little kids? And the answer is no. I'm definitely performing for them, but I've spent a lot of time and effort to make my show something that's fun for all age groups. My favorite audience is kids, parents, and grandparents all together. I don't really get that very often, so that's one of the things that I'm hoping to see at my show.
And tickets are open to the public. A link to purchase them can be found at our website, channel3000.com. When we come back, Alex tells us about our chances for snow for the rest of the week.
And remembering Jimmy Carter, the ceremonies held today as the former president made his last trip to the nation's capital.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Memorials and tributes are pouring in and underway in Washington for former President Jimmy Carter.
The casket carrying the 39th president arrived in our nation's capital today. Natalie Brand reports from Washington.
Flanked by family and a special honor guard, the flag-draped casket carrying former President Jimmy Carter arrived at the U.S. Capitol Tuesday afternoon. The 39th president honored with a 21-gun salute before moving inside the Capitol Rotunda for a tribute by members of Congress. Vice President Kamala Harris delivered one of the eulogies.
James Earl Carter Jr. loved our country, and he left the world better than he found it.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson remarked on a life dedicated to service to country.
His care for humanity didn't stop at building homes. In the face of illness, President Jimmy Carter brought life-saving medicine. In the face of conflict, he brokered peace.
Georgia Senator John Ossoff reflected on Carter's legacy, not just as a state governor and U.S. president, but his achievements after he left the White House.
He continued to have a major impact, not just in the United States, but around the world as an advocate for free and fair elections. His work on public health and disease eradication. It's remarkable what he continued to achieve even after leaving office.
On the way to the Capitol, Carter's casket was transferred at the U.S. Navy Memorial, which Carter, a Navy veteran, authorized building in 1980. His family walked beside the horse-drawn caisson, a nod to Carter's decision to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue during his inaugural parade in 1977. A commander-in-chief from humble beginnings who says he aspired to make government more competent and compassionate. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
State funeral services for the former president begin on Thursday at the Washington National Cathedral. His body will then return to Plains, Georgia for a private funeral ceremony.
Jimmy Carter's greatest legacy may be in the field of public health. After his presidency, Carter worked for decades to eradicate diseases in impoverished areas around the globe. Dr. Peter Hotez first met President Carter on a panel to raise awareness of neglected tropical diseases.
He did something quite extraordinary. He personally championed the idea that we should think about disease and health as a human right, and took on the very ambitious task of thinking about disease eradication.
Through his non-governmental organization, the Carter Center, President Carter traveled to Africa and Asia to eliminate guinea worm disease, which is spread by contaminated water. In 1986, there were an estimated 3.5 million human cases of guinea worm. Last year, there were just 14. It's on track to be the second human disease ever eradicated after smallpox.
Today, President-elect Donald Trump spoke to reporters as he gets ready to return to office in less than 2 weeks. His remarks at Mar-a-Lago come a day after Congress certified his 2024 presidential election victory. Trump announced another foreign U.S. investment today of at least $20 billion from a Dubai real estate firm.
The investment will support massive new data centers across the Midwest, the Sun Belt area, and also to keep America on the cutting edge of technology and artificial intelligence.
Also today, lawyers for the president-elect filed an appeal with New York State Court to dismiss the hush money case before Friday's sentencing hearing. Trump was convicted back in May on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. A federal judge blocked the release of special counsel Jack Smith's final report into the investigations of President-elect Trump. Lawyers for Trump and his former co-defendants, Walt Nada and Carlos de Oliveira, filed a request to stop the documents from being released. The judge's order prevents Smith and the Justice Department from releasing the report until the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reviews the emergency motion.
Now a look at this week's forecast. It's going to be pretty much the same all week long. Take the week off, Alex.
I think I still got to be here.
Not many changes, though.
Not many changes, though. Yeah, we were kind of talking about that the other day. This forecast is pretty consistent over the course of the next couple of days. No big warm-ups. We talked about that yesterday. Dry for most of the 10-day. We still want to look at those chances for snow Friday and Sunday. Just looking at weather model updates as we speak right now to give you the latest on that. 17 right now in Madison. Northwest at 3 winds. I bring that up because the wind chill's 17. So that's some improvement. We've had some colder spells over the course of the late fall and the beginning of this winter where we've had those strong gusty winds and we've had those bitterly cold wind chills. We don't have that to contend with as we plan and go into tomorrow morning, waking up to 9, temperatures at 8 o'clock at 10, 12, and then we'll do 15 by the time we get to 10 o'clock, a little bit later in the morning. So a cool start to the day, cold start rather. Again, 17 in Madison, 18 in Middleton, 18 in Waunakee here in Dane County. Moving on out here at 5 right now, 5 in Camp Douglas, -2, not too far away up in Black River Falls, and 14 in Janesville. Highs tomorrow about 5 to 7 degrees below normal, upper teens to right around 20 degrees. So there is a little bit of a change in the forecast, a little bit colder for tomorrow. Let's follow the dots here. Why do we follow the dots? This is the wind chill. Wind chill staying generally between 0 and 20 tomorrow. So that puts this in the cold category. It's not in the caution or the danger category, as I emphasize that we're not dealing with very cold wind chills at this point in time, at least. Good news is we stay up near normal through at least Monday. Taking a peek at some of our weather models as we speak right now, it's looking like as we go out into next week, there could be a colder spell as we head out towards Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe a little bit colder than that 14 and 19. But we'll keep a close eye on that because that's still a ways out there. But overall, across the country, this is what I wanted to show you as I talked about in first weather. Where you see the purple right now at 10 o'clock, all of these locations, that's pretty much the entire United States, has a temperature of 32 degrees or colder right now. That gives you an idea of the extent of how cold it is across the country as we speak right now. We go all the way out to January 21st. Much of the country staying colder than normal, or at least the likelihood of it staying colder than normal too. Now those snow chances, we've got snow chances Thursday night and Friday. Yesterday I gave you a glimpse of that weather system. Here's a glimpse again. We're bringing down the totality of the snow, meaning it doesn't stick around as long on Friday. The amounts are going to go down. Had a hunch that that was going to happen, as I alluded to yesterday, that could be the case, dusting to maybe as much of an inch on Friday with that weather system, as most weather models are favoring less in the way of snow, inch or less, and this chance is very low. But at least it's a little something to put a little white out there on the ground. Now, other chances we go into Sunday with the Clipper-like weather system, but all in all, as I mentioned, staying dry through this 10-day.
And coming up in sports, Stephen Crown playing like Big Steve lately, while Greg Gard says that's the key for Wisconsin to have success. That's next on News 3 Now. Stephen Crowell didn't start his senior season the way he planned, reaching double-digit points in just one game in his first 11. But in his last 4, well, he's turned the corner that Greg Gard always believed he would. The big man is averaging 16 points and 7 rebounds over those last 4 games, and it's directly related to success. The Badgers are winners of 4 straight, and it's because Big Steve unlocked his offense.
I see him every day. I've seen him every day for 4.5 years, and I felt he has the potential to be, and I've been around all the really good ones, the ones that even have their, Kaminsky has his number hanging in our rafters, but Steve is best when he's aggressive, and I think the last 4 games, we've tweaked how we sub him in and out a little bit. I think it's helped him, but he knows an aggressive Steve is the best Steve.
The Badger women looked to snap a 3-game losing streak, but it wasn't in the cards. Wisconsin falls to Washington in a battle of the UWs, 79-58. High school girls hoops, Wanakee hosting Oregon in a battle of the top 2 teams in the Badger Large. Panthers down early, but battled back. Sela Mitchell banks it home for 2 to make it a 4-point game. And then the Warriors picked it up on defense. Tessa Bryan with the steal, and she completes the dine and dash at the other end. And then later, Wanakee works the ball around to Audrey Might, and the ball movement gives them points. She dials one up from deep. Warriors stand alone atop the standings with a 59-50 win. Over the first half of their season, no team was better than the Wisconsin women, and it wasn't even close. Mark Johnson's squad skated out to a 19-1 record, where they outscored their opponents 114-19. Now a series into the second half of their year, and the challenge for the Badgers is to continue to play at a high level. And that starts with being consistent day in and day out.
It comes down to how we want to play the game at the end of the day. We can come out and play our game no matter who we're playing, and we're going to be just fine.
It would be a consistent team from game to game, weekend to weekend, month to month. And we were able to do that, and now we start the second half of our journey, and we ended up coming away with 4 out of 6 points against the number 2 team in the country, and our confidence should be at a pretty good level.
And speaking of Wisconsin women's hockey, don't forget to tune into this week's Wisconsin Huddle with Layla Edwards. We look back at their series with Ohio State and break down some hockey slang. Show airs on Friday at 6:30 right here on News 3 Now. We're back after this.
Yeah, let's get a final check of the forecast with Alex.
Well, we just look at this same 10-day over and over again. It shows about the same thing. Temperatures in the 20s by day, teens by night. The coldest day is tomorrow. And then we're going to have some cold weather behind a cold front coming in Monday, going into Tuesday and Wednesday before our temperatures moderate again as we go back a little bit later into next week. The only 2 snow chances that we have, Friday and Sunday, but snowfall amounts, we're looking trace, inch at most. You can use a broom to get that off the doorstep. So no big snows on the way if you're looking for it, unfortunately.
More people are, yeah.
Alex, thank you. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Have a great night, everybody. Hope to see you back here tomorrow.